All right, everyone. Welcome back to the land of Chem. I am your host and the author. My name is Jeffrey Drum. Thank you all so much for joining me again. All right, everyone, welcome back. This is episode 90, and today I will be examining the archaeology of the conduit system at the Pyramid of Sahure and presenting some extremely rare video, possibly the only footage in existence from inside of these reaction chambers, courtesy of the Isida Project. If this is the type of content you're interested in regarding the function of the Egyptian pyramids, please subscribe to the Land of Chem here on YouTube. Click that little notification bell so that you do not miss the new episodes that premiere twice per week. Like, comment, and stay tuned if you want to help support the channel. thelandofchem.com. If you want to follow me on Instagram, my handle is @thelandofchem. Ladies and gentlemen, I think that is it for today's intro. So without further ado, let's get right to it. All right, everyone, here we go with tonight's episode. So to begin, the majority of today's research, unless otherwise specified, comes from the work of Keith Hamilton in his Layman's Guide to the Pyramid of Sahure. And I've mentioned his prolific documentation of Egyptian archaeology in numerous episodes before as being a premier source material for the basics of understanding the Egyptian pyramids, link in the video description below. And I wanted to show you this, which comes from the first archaeologist to explore the Pyramid of Sahure in the late 1830s, John Perring. And we have here some scrawled inscriptions, quote unquote, which is a stretch of a description, as these were not carved into the stone, but rather drawn on with red ochre on the outside of the structure near the entrance. And these cartouches here bear the name of Sahure. And I wanted you to see this, ladies and gentlemen, because this is how they assign the pyramid as belonging to Sahure. And I will leave the interpretation of this process of identification up to you. But let's just compare the quality of these markings to the construction itself. And I'll just say that one of these things is not like the other and leave it at that. Moving on. And here is a depiction of the entire pyramid and temple complex in its original state, created by Ludwig Borchardt, the second archaeologist to explore and the first to fully excavate the Pyramid of Sahure between 1907 and 1908. And a modern recreation of the pyramid and temple system produced by Keith Hamilton, including a description of its various components. Now today, the area that I will be focusing on is here, the quote-unquote offering hall, and the adjacent areas that house a complex network of underground conduits that were connected to a series of copper-lined basins that once existed within this two-story temple system. And yes, this structure originally had 2 floors. And the remains of the stairs leading up to the second floor still remain today, which you can see here. And another set here and here. But this should also give you an indication of the tremendous destruction that occurred at this site, as today there are no remains whatsoever of the entire second level, which is depicted quite accurately in this diagram from Borchardt, showing the areas that still remain here in the dark gray at the bottom of the diagram, and the speculative recreation of what may have been above here in the white areas. But absolutely none of this area up here existed during the time of these original explorations and excavations. This is just their best idea of what could have been up there. And I'm hoping you can now see how devastating whatever might have happened here was to the original structure, basically ripping the entire second floor off and leaving the rubble still strewn about the site, as you have seen in my previous special permission access Sunday site visit number 10. And yes, this is an area that cannot be visited by the public without special permission from the Egyptian Ministry of Tourism and Antiquities. Link to that episode, Sunday Site Visit 10, in the video description below. Now, the primary subject for today's video, the network of conduits within the Eastern Temple, which were thoroughly documented during the archaeological excavation of this site in the early 1900s. And I'm absolutely thrilled that this type of archaeology exists, because this system of conduits has since been either reburied or partially destroyed, making it virtually impossible to produce this type of mapping if you were to visit the site today, which is why these original archaeological reports are so important to understanding the foundation of how these structures may have operated. And there is a lot of conflicting verbiage in the conventional academia used to describe the function of these conduits that clearly show they have absolutely no idea what this network of basins and copper pipes was really for. And there were 5 basins located in the structure: here, 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 and here. And all 5 of these basins were connected directly into this intricate network of copper sheathed conduits. And this here comes from Wikipedia, referencing multiple verified sources. And I will quote, "Sahure's temple had an elaborate drainage system, including more than 380 meters of copper piping. Rainfall captured on the roof was funneled out through stone lion head spouts fit onto the tops of the outer walls. The choice of the lion head may relate to the ancient Egyptian belief that Set and other inimical deities could manifest themselves in rain. The lion, a symbolic protector of sacred ground, consumed the harmful spirits and ejected harmless water. Where no roof existed, gaps around the base of the outer wall collected the water, conducting it out using channels cut into the paving." So this is the first part, removing rainfall from the roof. And yes, there would have been drainage systems in place for rainwater, which is evidence for my hypothesis that these pyramids were built during the Saharan wet period from approximately 8500 BC to 5300 BCE, when there was significantly more rainfall in the upper Eastern Sahara and in Egypt. But this roof drainage system was not connected into the internal network of conduits. And I'll continue quoting here. "Water and other liquids used in rituals and ceremonies, which may have become impure and thus dangerous to the touch, were removed using the drainage system. 5 stone and copper-plated basins, each with a lead plug to fit the vent, were placed around the inner temple. The first was found in the offering hall, 2 more were in the auxiliary rooms beyond it, a 4th in the corridor leading up to the offering hall, and a 5th in the northern magazine gallery. These were connected via an intricate network of copper pipes laid beneath the temple, which led down the length of the causeway before terminating at an outlet on its southern side." Ceremonial, ritualistic liquids that were dangerous to the touch, huh? Certainly sounds like chemicals to me. Moving on. And this roof drainage system is corroborated by board chart and Hamilton here, and I will quote, "More ornate coping was used to adorn the temple, and fragments of this were found on site. Drainage from the roof elements was taken care of by basalt water spouts in the form of lions' heads." But he also clearly states that this water drainage was not connected to the internal conduit system, and board chart uses a completely different adjective to describe what they were used for. And I will quote here, "The above image is part of board chart's temple plan, and I have highlighted the chambers just discussed, which constitute the private and more sacred part of the temple. The only entrance into the sequence of chambers is via the upper platform, which incorporated the statue niches. I have also highlighted the basin locations, whilst the red line denotes the intricate layout of the drainage system. 5 basins connected to this drainage network, 4 in the more private section, and 1 at the end of the long corridor, which gave access to the northern magazines. This drainage system would run through the courtyard and continue down the causeway. The basins stood in niches left in the walls, and in the private section at least, they all occupy the southeast corner of their respective chambers. The basins had a copper pipe attached to their bottoms, and a plug made of lead was found with a copper ring which enclosed the waste hole. Okay, so now instead of water drainage or removal of ritualistic liquids, are we now saying that there are restrooms inside of this temple for disposing of human waste? Or are we talking about some other type of industrial chemical waste? This quote-unquote waste description is extremely vague, another indication that they have no idea what these were originally used for. And a further description of this system and its usage here. The above figures, 102 and 104, are from Borchart's publication, showing the lead waste plug, whilst figure 104 shows the drainage channel which ran under the pavements and door thresholds. These channels are still fairly well preserved today, and the visitor can still easily find them. Borchard would suggest that the eyelet was made of copper and the cast ring of a yellowish bronze, which he thought remarkable for this period. The above channel is part of the long section which leads down toward the offering hall. This channel would hold a copper pipe which carried the quote-unquote waste. The copper pipes were up to 1 meter long, were pushed into each other and placed on a bed of gypsum mortar and also covered in gypsum mortar. In places, only crystalline verdigris are left, indicating the presence of copper pipe with a diameter of 0.047 meters, and in some places, oxidized copper sheeting was found. So my question is, where is all of this copper piping today? Certainly none of it is left at the site now, and unfortunately, no chemical analyses were ever performed to confirm what was actually running through this conduit system. So all of this conventional archaeological explanation is completely speculative, and they cannot give any conclusive explanation for its function because they just don't know. And here are some exceptional pictures from Borchart's work published in 1910, showing this lead plug, another metal that I have discussed before that is never mentioned in the standard narrative as being mined or produced by the dynastic Egyptians. But I have shown research in my episode on ancient mining and metallurgy that lead was absolutely being mined and processed in ancient Egypt, and there is a huge metal plug made out of lead here. Certainly seems an excessive component for a waste or drainage system and appears to me more like a piece of an industrial process. And a few photos of the conduit system underneath several courses of stone, which indicate that this network of copper pipes was an essential part of the temple design and the first component that had to be installed before the rest of the structure was built. This network of conduits was absolutely critical to the operation of this temple, which speaks to me that this was not for the removal of quote-unquote ceremonial fluids, but rather for the processing and eventual collection of a chemical product. And here are a few images showing the copper pipe still encased in mortar. And now all traces of this metal piping system, of course, have completely disappeared since the early 1900s. Also now completely missing from the site are the 5 copper-lined basins and these lead plugs. So where the hell are all of these artifacts? And why was it so important to remove them from the site? And now today, why is this site inaccessible to the public? Well, I am proposing that all of these features are a direct indication that this was a functional structure that was designed for producing chemicals, and none of these artifacts are compatible with the pharaonic burial story. And I'm also proposing that there is an underground conduit leading from the interior reaction chambers out through the eastern side of the pyramid that connects into this temple conduit system that still lays hidden underground. as I have discovered similar conduit inlets at almost every pyramid I have investigated, most recently at the Pyramid of Sahure, which you can see here, connecting directly into the eastern side of the pyramid. And this one, next door to the Pyramid of Sahure at the Pyramid of Sahure, also in Abu Sir. And we know that this system was not disposing of any water, removing waste or ceremonial fluids, because the conduit system goes underground below the floor of the Eastern Temple and into a collection bowl. That's right. They were not removing water or disposing of anything, but they were producing something and then collecting it. These pyramids were producing chemicals on an ancient industrial scale, which were then further processed in the temples and collected for storage, distribution, and application.
And as we proceed into this adjacent temple, you will see more of the conduit system. So here is a conduit here, and they branch off. It's a network that crosses through this entire temple area. I'm just going to follow some of these. Hell yeah. And for those of you that are joining on the 2023 Land of Chem Ancient Alchemy and Ascension Research Expedition, we have already arranged a private special permission access into this site. And I am here on the eastern side in a very specific location. And you can see this has all been built back up with rubble here. And I guarantee you there's a shaft that goes right here into the side of the pyramid on this eastern side, and we'll see that when we get to the Pyramid of Sahure over here. And I'll do my best to get some new footage of that inlet that I discovered during my 2022 research expedition. And this granite housing here, you can see the granite here, limestone. There's the piece of red granite right there, and there, I would almost bet there's the inlet shaft here. And then there would have been more red granite casing on this side over here. So I'm literally standing on top of the area where the chemical that was being produced inside of this pyramid would have flowed out of the structure and most likely into this network that branched all throughout the temple. And you can see here, all right, so moving back to that same location, I was just standing right here. That leads to this area here where I'm standing. And if I turn in this direction, what do you see there? Channel heading out in this direction. So the conventional explanation would be that these are for drainage. Okay, so if this is for drainage, why is it running in this direction and then over here? If I follow this, it's going to lead over here to a housing area. You see some black basalt, some red granite. And of course the question remains, what was originally housed in this area that was connected into these conduits? And I've proposed on numerous occasions that these temples were for processing of the product or for processing of the raw materials.
All right, everyone, just a quick reminder that if you want to help support the channel, just check out thelandofchem.com to have the all-new 6th-degree green lion, ferrous sulfate, and Newgrange logo, the 5th degree central pyramid and hydrochloric acid logo, the 2nd edition print copy of the Land of Chem book, this beautiful new Egyptian blue edition, signed copies of the original Purple Orchid paper print have just been released on my website. So if you want to show some love, just check out thelandofchem.com. And from the bottom of my heart, thank you all so much. All right, now that I've explained the conduit system, let's take a journey inside the reaction chambers. This footage, courtesy of my teammates at the Isida Project, and you'll be able to see how completely destroyed the internal system of this pyramid truly is. And you can see here on this diagram, all of the rubble down here at the bottom that fills these chambers. And the only area of the primary chamber that is accessible is this very small area right here. So you can see the three massive chevrons above the primary chamber here, all of the collapsed rubble in through here. And in the video, you will see the team to access the remaining open cavity right here. And this may be the only footage that exists of these reaction chambers, and most likely may ever exist, as the opening on the northern side of this structure has now been completely sealed off with modern concrete, as I showed in Sunday Site Visit 10. So now, ladies and gentlemen, without further ado, let's take a very rare look inside the Pyramid of Sahure. Link to the Isida Project YouTube channel and the original video in the description below. I hope you enjoy.
Go. Oh, look at that. That is sad. Look at what they've done to the opening. You guys see that? The original inlet to this structure, the shaft, has been completely blocked off with bricks and concrete, so that no one can ever go back inside of this pyramid.
All right, everyone, that is it for today's video. This was episode 90, the conduit system and reaction chambers at the Pyramid of Sahure. I really hope you enjoyed today's video, and in the next episode in the series, Sunday Site Visit 18, featuring a follow-up investigation of the final Pyramid of Giza. This is an episode you do not want to miss. So if this is the type of content you're interested in regarding the function of the Egyptian pyramids, please subscribe to the Land of Chem here on YouTube. Click that little notification bell. Like, comment, and stay tuned if you want to help support the channel. Thelandofchem.com. If you want to follow me on Instagram, my handle is @thelandofchem. Ladies and gentlemen, I think that is it for today's video. So I will see you next time.
Yo, are you still watching this? Please subscribe to the Land of Chem here on YouTube and click that little notification button. New videos coming out every single week. And check out this other episode. Come on, do it. Do it now.